Hey guys, CryptJ1958 here, coming at you with an update to my For Hire deck, because we got the January 2019 ban list, and it brought Brilliant Fusion down to 1. It kind of killed the whole 60 card For Hire, because the whole point of that deck was to use the Brilliant Fusion engine to get into Fulgo, so you didn't have to use any of your For Hires, so you can make bigger boards. But with Brilliant Fusion going down to 1, I just could not find a way to make it work. So I'm going to bring you my 40 card version here, kind of talk about the card choices and why I chose them. There are a few kind of cheeky things we can do now that we have a little bit of room here, but let's get into the deck profile and we'll go from there. Still running 3 Beat, main Searcher, 3 Rafale, which is our main boss monster. Lets us negate monster effects once per turn, and then lets us do a pseudo search. 3 Bravo. The level 4s have kind of become really important in this deck, just because we have a lot of rank 4 plays, and none of our rank 3 plays are really that easy to get into, since we don't have the Predaplants. So the only level 3 we're actually running is Beat. And then 2 Seal, just to recycle from the graveyard. 2 Recon to pop face downs, 2 Dampa to pop face ups. Then for the rest of the boss monsters, run in 2 Wiz and 1 Dyna. I chose Dyna over Maverick just because a lot of times being able to banish from your opponent's graveyard has a lot more utility than the little bit of burn damage that Maverick can do. I am working on a side deck, and I'm going to have at least 1 copy of Maverick in there, just because if you're going into time, the burn damage is really good, but if you're not going into time, then having the utility to banish from the graveyard before your opponent can is usually a little bit better than the burn. That rounds up the For Hire line up. Let's go into the rest of the monsters here. So I'm running 2 Ghost Ogre. And that's just to proc Fulgo's effect, because when a card is destroyed on your opponent's side of the field, you get to draw. So I run that over Ash. You can probably switch out the next monsters with Ashes. I just prefer the next monsters here. I'm running 3 Eater of Millions. There was a lot of room in the extra deck, and I was able to kind of do a few interesting things with it. But if you're not able to get into those plays, then Eater of Millions is really good. It helps you get over big monsters when you're still trying to establish your board, and that's the biggest issue that this variant has, is because we have to use For Hire monsters to get into Fulgo. It's hard to build the board, get into Fulgo, and then continue building the board. So just having another type in the deck and having an out to some of the monsters that we might not normally have an out to is really nice. And that wraps up our monsters. Let's get into the spells. 3 Mayhem For Hire. Again, just to recur monsters from the graveyard. And then 2 Twin Twisters. Back row kind of stops this deck a little bit. Called by the Grave, running at 2, just because I really didn't have room for for a third one. 2 Pot of Desires. I wish we had a different pot card that worked, but this is what we got, so we got to make it work. I am running 1 Scapegoat. I would probably switch this out for the third, Called by the Grave, but to where the deck's at right now, having that little bit of protection from the Scapegoat does help in those tough situations. And then 1 Reinforcement of the Army and 1 Regeki, and that rounds up our spells. And then 4 Traps. It's pretty close to the same as the 60 card. 2 Strike, 1 Judgment, and 1 Training For Hire, but I did throw in another trap card that it helps protect your back row a little bit more, just because making your opponent not want to pop your back row running 1 Waking the Dragon. I was able to put in some pretty decent cards in the extra deck, and if you can get Waking the Dragon off, then it works pretty well. If not, then those can be used for Eater of Millions fodder. And that rounds up the main deck. Let's go into the extra deck here. So, of course, we're still running the 3 Fulgo. And then because we are running the Scapegoat, I'm running Borreload, Cerberus, Link Spider, and Linkuriboh. And Linkuriboh works really well with Eater of Millions since it is a level 1 as well. So if you bring out the Eater of Millions and it gets impermanenced or even Veilered, you can always go into Linkuriboh that way and still have a little bit of protection. And that rounds up the links. So for our 4s, Utopia and Bagooska, stall. And then for our Waking the Dragon, we got Galaxy Eyes Full Armored Photon, Galaxy Eyes Cipher Blade, Neo Galaxy Eyes Cipher Blade, Ultimate Falcon, and Echuria Exterio. All do pretty well. Getting into the right Galaxy Eyes can give you quite a bit of advantage, and then the Exterio really helps to stop certain decks. So it's really nice, and if, like I said, if all else fails, you just go into the Eater of Millions. I've been playing this deck for a few days now. Took it to a couple locals, and it did okay. I'm still looking for a few ways to make it a little bit better. I'll bring you updates as I make it work. This is what I got so far. Just wanted to bring this to you as quick as possible here. Thank you guys so much for your time, and just remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you guys next time.